The Rippaverse.
Oh, fuck.
No, we're in the Rippaverse. Or as we like to call it, the Griftaverse.
The Griftaverse.
They hate it when I fucking say that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, please define grifter. Please.
Actually, I would refer to you. Refer you to the movie The Grifters, starring John Cusack, Annette Bening, and what the hell?
Isn't the Grifter a DC character?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure there's a DC character called Grifter.
Maybe. Was he
Drifter?
a wildcat? No, was he a wildcat from Jim Lee?
Well, he was like a
real fucked up, kind of bizarre combination of monkey shit.
You know?
The only difference between like Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, honestly,
we're not getting to Rob.
Okay.
Right. We're talking about Eric July.
Fuck.
The next generation of a great comic book creator. Okay. All right. So they were at
the guy who, instead of just not reading the stuff that he doesn't like, has decided to wage war on Marvel and Disney. Brr! Did you just put a $20 bill with something written on it on my offices? Police! 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 That guy?
Yeah, Eric.
Talking about that guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was at a panel.
Was that a good impression?
Sure. I think that's pretty fair. He was at a panel in Orlando. I think it was Orlando. And, it was a convention in Florida that was a MegaCon, or as I like to call it, MAGACon. But no, he was on a panel with some other people, and he introduced his next amazing comic book, his new character. Well, let's have comic book legend Chuck Dixon explain the new character.
Oh, fucking Christ.
Joe Bennett had this idea, and he presented it to me.
Oh, Joe Bennett, who lost his job at Marvel and working on Hulk with Al Ewing because of his, was it anti-Semitic post or anti-Semitic?
He drew some anti-Semitic shit into a comic book, one of the last ones.
Yeah.
It was like, I can't remember how long the series lasted, but it was like
it was like issue 32 or something like that.
Well, no, it went to like whatever it was, but he and then by the time the book, the last issue of that run was coming out, it was revealed that he had some anti-Semitic shit in the past, like on social medias and whatnot, and had drawn quite a few from Brazil. From his native Brazil, quite a few political cartoons that were very anti-Semitic in nature. So they basically fired him, but they couldn't redo the last issue. And so to me, the thing that sucks is the art's really great in that series, The Immortal Hulk. And it's Al Ewing, which I fucking love him. And the whole run is just one of the greatest Hulk runs ever. It's start to finish a horror Hulk book, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
oh yeah, I really like it.
Awesome, right? It's
Hulk,
awesome.
Yeah.
But you can't ever read it ever again without knowing that, the guy who drew all this shit is a fucking bigot. I'm like, or at least took money from bigots to fashion a piece of art that was bigoted for bigots. I don't know how it works with artists.
Yeah, I
would assume if you take the time to paint it, you probably believe it.
Yeah. So anyway, I just also wanted to point out that Joe Bennett, of course, was air quotes canceled because we got a silent. He's being silenced.
He's canceled by Marvel, sure, but he's probably got work in his native Brazil doing those shitty anti-Semitic political cartoons. So I'm sorry you took a big bite of the apple and couldn't swallow it because you're too like stuck up with all your bigotry, you fuck.
Anyway, also, and remember,
I don't know what that.
I think we talked about it on the show.
That was stupid.
Chuck Dixon had a QAnon superhero comic book.
Of course, because Chuck Dixon is Spanish for dick face.
But yeah.
Did you know that?
Comics cancel these guys, and that's right. That's why the Rippaverse is gonna bring him back and everything. So here we go.
And he said what the Rippaverse really needs is a street-level crime-fighting character, a guy without any superpowers, self-made man. And so Joe and I together created the Horseman.
The Horseman. Now look,
I love how he changes his voice to be like the Horseman.
Also, two things. One, Alt Hero Q was the book that Chuck Dixon works on.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
Also, I love that.
Where we go one, we go all was the name of the first issue. So, I mean, that's pretty blatant. But
I love how they refer to a self-made man, like that Bruce Wayne is a self-made man, failing to recognize that in the comics, it is well known that Bruce Wayne has a great business mind, unlike shitheads like Elon Musk, who, again, took that $4 billion his dad left him and through shrewd business navigations turned it into $462 million.
Tyler.
Can you believe that?
Tyler.
Wasted all that fucking money.
Tyler. Listen to me. The Horseman. The character is the Horseman.
I know.
So I thought about this. You've seen the
It's
cover.
weird,
You've seen
yeah.
the cover.
The way that the
Well-
angle is the costume, it looks like Batman.
Yes.
Huh.
Particularly
Weird.
the
Even though it's a horse head.
he
he's
looks
wearing.
like the Azrael Batman
Yeah.
that takes over after Bane, which is Chuck Dixon's creation. This is all the Nightfall stuff. So after Bane breaks Bruce's back, Bruce is healing up, and while he's healing up, Azrael takes the mantle of Batman.
Mhm.
And the Horseman's design looks like that. And I was thinking about it, and you were talking as you were talking, and I was thinking about it before the show.
My incessant brain.
This has just been all of Eric July's 90s comic book fantasies. Because he's even got Chuck Dixon, a legendary comic book writer. And I'm not going to take away the creation of Bane and the things that he did contribute to Nightwing and Batman, whatever.
Sure.
But he's just playing the hits at this point. Because now he's just making a character that looks like Batman. And
So,
the Horseman. And I know people will throw this argument of like, well, Spider-Man sound ridiculous and Batman sound ridiculous. And I'm like, that's fair. But those entities, yes, they have that ability because of all that property. But because those properties are so big, it's easy to spot when something is taking direct inspiration from it. And I'm not saying it's wrong.
No.
I just think it's really fucking funny that they, of all the things,
Well, look,
they made the Horseman.
There's different levels of taintedness to a legacy of an artist. Okay? Now, do I love the early Spider-Man and love what Steve Ditko was able to do to bring Spider-Man to life most of those first years, you know, and just the design and how he made Spider-Man look and feel that influenced everybody else that drew him afterwards.
Yeah.
But I cannot deny that he is a right-wing piece of shit, and it kind of taints those first comics. When you're reading it and you're looking at him, you kind of can't help but look at this art and relate it to this fucking right-wing shithead. Van Morrison, who I've never been really a super big fan of, is now a right-wing douchebag fuck. And I just got to say, that doesn't really surprise me, because if you start playing Brown Eyed Girl in any bar where there's more than 10 sorority girls, they are required by their sorority bylaws to recite that song until it's over.
Let's get to the clips, because we have clips.
Point is, you're tainting your legacy, Chuck.
So a couple of days ago, Eric July released a video explaining more about the Horseman. However, I will argue he doesn't explain very much about the Horseman.
Just like his trading cards?
I want to be clear. How he wants, like this is how he wants to do it. But I just feel like when you're promoting something like this, I think it's better to give a little bit of detail. I understand wanting keeping details. You know, you don't want to spoil your work or anything like that.
Blow your load.
But like, this is like just the vagueness always makes me laugh.
Look,
with
read
these
his trading cards. You're not
these,
building mystery. You're just sounding like you didn't finish your fucking homework, asshole.
Here's the first clip. He just throughout the video keeps saying Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett. That's it. Like most of the time.
Oh, we'll get it. Yeah.
And then he also keeps like, hey man, this wasn't my idea. This was their idea. This is the first Rippaverse
Casting
character.
them off
Anyway.
into the ether.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Anyway, first clip.
Street level, self-made,
Describing him.
no powers. You're gonna learn a lot about this character, who he is, what he's about. all around badass. You see, it looks like he's pretty brutal. He is. he ain't here for the games, bro. That's not his thing. But the artwork is killer. This project is well along the way with both pencil, ink, and color. Joe Bennett, Chuck Dixon. This idea was fully
You just keep saying that.
conceptualized by Joe Bennett and Chuck Dixon.
I had that clip in there just to mention how much he talks about Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett. And it's funny because in the Comicsgate circles, in the circles that Eric July runs around in, the name Chuck Dixon matters.
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't care about Chuck Dixon anymore.
No.
And hey, far be it to me. Like, I would love to achieve the heights that Chuck Dixon achieved.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away anything that he did.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that,
He's
like,
probably-
he
he's
isn't the
written
draw.
some- yeah.
He's not this big of a draw as Eric thinks he is, because Eric still thinks that everybody wants the comics to be like they were in the 90s. And that's just not how it is.
No, because the comics
A
in the
lot
90s
of the
were
shit in the
fucking
90s
awful.
sucks. And you know what else? A lot of things in the 2000s sucks.
You know what
in the
he wants?
2010s,
Yes.
in the 2020s, in the 2030s. Like, as long as people will make creative things, there'll be.
You've seen
you will
comics
find-
from the future?
The good things stand out because they're good. Because there's so much shit.
You know what it is? Eric July just wants gatefold covers and die cut and hologram covers back and bagged stuff. That's all he wants. That's why he made the trading cards.
Anyway.
He doesn't care about the substance of the thing. He just wants fucking glitz.
Product.
Yes.
Anyway, clip number 2.
How many are there?
There's 4.
You
but
fucking
they're
son of a
short.
bitch.
They're short.
Fuck.
And it's cool. The thing about this that I love
After he announced the character, he's talking about the reaction.
love this so much about comics, man, and why I
This
think
is
that
funny
it
to me.
really, really needs to get back to an era that it used to be before social media. Now it's people look at everything. They don't look at it through the fan lens. They look at everything through like this trying to produce the best, the most, like, I don't know, it's following all the rules, and it's all about just the literature and that aspect. It's about critics and all that. It's like not about that. It's like nerd culture is about fun.
Funny you should say that, Eric.
Because you suck at parties.
Because you talk an awful lot about nerd culture, and all you do is bitch about nerd culture and how it's been taken over by woke leftists and shit like that.
Also, you can't even like describe like your stance because you don't have one. You just want to try. You're just trying to make money by being clickbait. You're a joke, man. Absolute joke. So is
But
the Horseman.
I just left that in there because I agree with him. Nerd culture is about fun.
Yeah, but not with you.
But
you're a douche.
you and I have
about
two
it.
different
No,
versions.
You,
Two different.
me and you, buddy.
I'm pointing at you because you're sitting there.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Eric and I can agree on that, but him and I have two very different
Yeah.
definitions of fun, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's what it should be. But it can't be if you're making a living attacking people that are already
That have been
being
attacked
oppressed
all their
by
yeah.
legislation,
Yeah.
by bullying of by their peers, being demonized just because they want to be who they truly want to be. So it's hard to say that nerd culture is
Except
about.
for
Hard
all-
for me to
yeah.
think that you say that while excluding groups of people.
Whole swaths of people.
And then trying to make a video talking about not gatekeeping, but then constantly making content about gatekeeping, and not having a sense of irony to it at all.
Yeah,
Next clip.
Yeah.
There's a little confusion on the name initially. I know some people thought it was like,
Let's have fun with this. Great start to your character, Eric, when you have to describe how to properly pronounce his name.
Oh, it's not Horseman, it's Horseman.
Well, he'll tell you.
we were saying like he's Horseman, like no Horseman, like what you would call like for Headless Horseman, or the I don't know, four of you individually are speaking about one of horsemen of the apocalypse. Call them horsemen. The person rides horse. That's what the term means.
I thought he said Hitler's horseman for a second instead of headless. I seriously did. I was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
That classic story, Hitler's story.
Yeah. What?
That's got to be on some sort of Nazi site.
I'm sure.
For sure.
But no, I just.
So, but this is what it would get. Again, I just.
He just.
The point is this: the design sucks. The name is fine, but when you call him the Horseman, give him a hood. Put him on a horse.
Yes. Because what you're made looks like Horseman.
Ant-Man, Batman, Spider-Man. Again, there's nothing wrong with the name.
Aquaman.
If you just commit and just admit it's a stupid fucking design and be like, all right, it's the Horseman. You know? Tells evildoers nay. You know? Fucking roll with it. Hey, it's Horseman.
Oh shit, we're robbing this bank and the Horseman is here. I know how to stop him. Give him a fucking apple.
Dude, instead of batarangs, he's going to have fucking horseshoes. We're writing it for you.
No, he's just going to have bags of shit to throw at people. Here's some horse shit.
I am tempted.
I did this.
I am tempted
while
to
I
read
was
this.
walking.
I am tempted to read this book because so help me God, I guarantee you, Chuck Dixon instead of batarangs, he's throwing fucking horseshoes. I guarantee it.
Of course.
I guarantee it.
Fucking course.
We got one more clip.
Fuck. Okay.
All I'm saying is just like commit to it and
Right?
call him
Yeah.
Horse Dash Man.
Yeah. Fuck it. Go. You know what? Go. Keep going.
Because this is what's frustrating. You could see a little bit of lighting up about it. Like he's interested in this character, and that's great. But it's like, again, if you got to explain that his name is like, because everybody's like, oh, he's a horseman. He rides a horse? No. Okay. Is he like that he's one of them and it's like a team? They're the horsemen of the apocalypse?
Yeah. Like, no, it's just one.
He's just like, if you would ride a horseman. So like a horseman. No.
Horseman.
Again, the name is not the problem. It's the design. And this is what I want to point out. It looks like the Azrael Batman. People have been pointing that out on Twitter. And I honestly, when I first saw him, I was like, yeah, this looks like Batman.
Yeah.
Like, and Eric July is talking about Joe Bennett and his color schemes and how, they come to a conclusion together that you really understand what they're trying to do at the end of the day.
So I love the colors that we came up with, and I remember asking Joe personally, like he showed me a bunch of them. Like we were red and this, and there was so many different color schemes. We went with the blue and goldish, and I was like, that's it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that's it. But I asked
blue
him,
and gold.
I was like,
Remember
okay,
that.
I see all these, but what do you think? What do you lean towards? What do you see? And Joe was like, I see that, and I was like, I'm with you on it. I'm fucking with you on it.
So, how do you think they got to that blue and gold color?
I don't know, but I'm looking at the Batman action figure on top of your bookcase, and I can guess.
Do you see blue?
I can fucking guess.
see the
Did
blue
you
and
add
gold?
gray in it at all?
Yeah.
Did they add gray in it?
Yeah, it's gray. He's got like
no
gray armor.
Fucking
I'm not
way.
joking. I'm not joking.
I know you sent me a picture.
Yeah. So let me just run this back for you. Chuck Dixon is writing it, right? So you got Chuck Dixon to come in to write your superhero like cop Justice League shit.
Oh, cop. Yep.
Alpha Corps. But now you got him, former Batman writer in the 90s with armor that looks like Batman.
I wonder.
Color scheme that looks like Batman.
I wonder if the
Even-
Horseman's parents were murdered.
I hope so.
Wow.
I hope.
Wow.
I hope so, because then this will be like, wow, you're committed. Hey, we're doing it. It's a Batman ripoff. But anybody else?
Listen,
Tyler-
Batman's parents were murdered after watching The Mask of Zorro.
Tyler.
Horseman's parents were murdered after watching Independence Day.
Tyler, this is the problem. It's really hard to take a book seriously, and I again, I don't know the tone of this book. Maybe it will be more comedic, but it's hard.
I seriously
hope
doubt it.
because How can you expect me to take this seriously when you are clearly getting an old Batman writer to do not Batman, do your version of Batman? And then, again, any other person be like, yeah, that's smart. Get your money. Get that bag. But I only bring that back because it's Eric July. And because he constantly criticizes Marvel and DC, but then he wants to make rip-offs of those characters.
Yeah. That's basically.
And again, if I were to do it, or you to do it, or anybody else to do it, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, it's derivative, but all this shit is kind of derivative. But it's because it's him who acts like he's the smartest writer alive, who's like, I know I'm a good writer. Chuck tells me I'm a good writer. Oh, the guy that you pay tells you you're a good writer. Really? Like, come on. Lean into it.
God, we should get a
this is what I mean.
GoFundMe just to buy one of these comics so we can.
If it were not Eric July, if it were not Chuck Dixon, if it were not Joe Bennett, if you just presented
How much is the first issue of Horseman?
Hold on, listen. Because I haven't released that yet. But if you were to tell me this story, take away those names, I'd be like, oh, I bet it's an interesting story. I bet it's something funny, fun.
Maybe.
Because if you're gonna do Horseman, be funny.
That Horseman, though.
I'm not gonna take that shit seriously. You have to.
It'll be like the Flaming Carrot.
But that's the thing. They want to take it seriously. You know they do, just based on how he talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so funny because of that Batman comparison. It's so obvious. Even the fact that he talks about how, like, oh, we had all these combinations, but we came down to blue and gold. A very common color combination that's worn by a very common hero who has pointy ears.
I like the explanation where he was like, what are you leaning towards? And he's like, I'm leaning towards that. And he was like, I'm with you. I'm fucking with you. Wow. That's drama, you know? I can just imagine being a fly on the wall in the room with Eric July and Joe Bennett. What are you leaning towards? That one. I'm with you. I'm fucking with you. And just being like, wow. It's like I was at the recording of David Bowie and Queen's Under Pressure. Like I somehow was lucky enough to be in the recording studio when that happened, that David Bowie was finishing up his album and Queen was just hanging out. And they were like, hey, let's make a song together.
You know, yeah. And you know what you were doing and you heard it?
Mm.
You were just sitting there and you were going,
whacking it.
Woo, yeah, woo, yeah.
All right, that's enough for Eric July in the Rippaverse. Again, anybody else, make your bag. I don't care. But it just be fact like, I'm better than Marvel and DC. Watch me rip off one of the most recognizable superheroes.
Offpanelofftopic with Jake and Tyler.